It's time for the 99. The 99%. It's time for the 99. The 99%.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today with Blind Impact here at WCSU Radio, where we're bringing you a world of entertainment. Here at Chicago State University, I'm QMS. If you want to know what that means, give us a call at 773-995-2820 or drop me a line, QMS. I'm at blindimpact2@yahoo.com. I have a special show today. What is about men and their health? And they wait until the last minute to find out what's going on. We're going to talk about that today with our special guest. I got some fantastic young men in the studio with me today. I understand another guest is going to join us in about an hour. The first man I'm going to introduce you to, he has the name Al Brown, and he is the publisher of BizNet Chicago and the founder of Time4The99. I say he's Al Brown Incorporated. If he wasn't so young, I would say that he's the man that put the word entrepreneur in the dictionary. I've known this man for a couple of years now. And if anybody's heard the name Al Brown out there in radio land, you know who I'm talking about. This is the Net Connect man. He's the man that lets you know that if you're not working, you're not working. He's the guy that shows up at your most important event and snaps a picture while you smile. He's the man that you talk to when you don't know what to do. You know, when life gets you down, you have to call somebody. You say, when life gets you down, call Al Brown.
I like that.
I'd like to welcome Al Brown to our show. How are you, Al?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. QMS, please.
Under the radar.
All right. We also have, we are really blessed today. We have Jesus Wayne from the Jesus Wayne Project with us today.
Hey.
How are you, Jesus?
I'm wonderful, Lady QMS. I'd like to first thank you for inviting us. I enjoy your show. Glad to be a part of it today.
You are more than welcome. We have these gentlemen here to talk to us today about, I could say, the devastating effects of cancer from not so much of a medical standpoint as a humanistic standpoint, from a personal point of view, and to kind of help bring us together, because the problem that I think we have in our world has to do with relationships. Now, I know a lot of women may be angry at me when I say this, and a lot of men are going to high-five prematurely because they're not going to let me finish. But we were told the story of Adam and Eve, right? And as soon as something goes wrong, a brother's quick to say, well, Eve gave us the apple. That doggone Eve. She gave you the apple and she knew you weren't supposed to eat it. But she didn't force it down your throat. She didn't make you take that first bite. You know, she's a woman. She thought it was a good idea. Because that's what we're about. We're about good ideas. And what I get from that story is that, one, way back then, back when, men used to listen to the women in their lives. Because they believed that she had their back. They believed that she would only tell you what she believed was good for you and right for you. So don't be twisting that story around. Saying that Eve is the one that made man go to sin. No. With that, I'd like to have Al Brown introduce his project to us, which is one of the main reasons why we're here. Time for the 99.
In 2007, I relocated to the East Coast, to Rhode Island. And interestingly enough, before I left Chicago, I was busy running around, never having time to stop and go and get that physical exam that we should get on an annual basis. And luckily for me, when I moved to Rhode Island and had more time, I actually started spending more time taking care of me. And I went to the doctor to get a routine exam. And as a result of the routine exam, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And you know, it's kind of interesting to say that until something hits at your door, you always think that it won't happen to you or doesn't apply to you. And that's interesting because, you know, my mother died from cervical cancer. My father died from cancer in the lymph nodes. And my sister died from cancer. So cancer is prevalent throughout the entire community, and particularly in our neighborhood because of some of the foods that we eat and all the other toxins that are in the air. But when I got diagnosed, and I sat there and I looked at the doctor and I said, okay, so what am I going to do now? He said, well, you don't have to worry about jumping up and running across the world right quick, because prostate cancer is one of the slowest growing cancers of all the cancers. And depending on your level and your test results, there's a myriad of different treatment options for it. So anyway, I sat there and we talked about this thing, and he wanted me to go and get the biopsy. And when I went to get the biopsy, I came back and he says, well, we found cancer in 2 of the 12 cores that you have. So that's the bad news. He said the good news is that it's early stage. And just to back it up a bit, when I first got told that my PSA level was high, my doctor told me that my PSA level was 13.9. And I looked at him as if to say, well, okay, well, what does that mean to somebody who doesn't understand what a PSA is? And once he explained to me about the PSA and talked me into going to get the biopsy, and then we fast forward to getting the actual biopsy and being diagnosed, then it became a process of understanding what types of treatments would be adequate for it. And that comes from discussing it with your doctor and finding out, what treatments are available for you based on your test results and your scores.
Al?
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you right now, and we're going to get into that conversation in a minute, but we're going to listen to one more song, because I want to really hear your story and ask you some pertinent questions.
Sure.
WCSU Radio, Chicago State University. We're back with Blind Impact, talking to Al Brown Incorporated and Jesus Wayne from the Jesus Wayne Project.
Hey.
Al, you were telling us about your, should I say, your relationship, your rendezvous. Let's call it your rendezvous with prostate cancer. You were saying that the doctor was telling you about the PSA levels, and then he was telling you about the quadrants. Being a woman, I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you go into detail about that again?
Well, the prostate has a fluid that's called a PSA, and that stands for the prostate-specific antigen. And that same fluid is the fluid that helps to create the semen. And what happens as a child, a man has a prostate about the size of a nickel. And as men continue to grow older, the prostate starts to grow also. The average male will probably have a prostate about the size of a walnut. And in some cases, as you grow older, you may have a problem with your prostate where it may become enlarged, or you may have prostate cancer, and both have similar symptoms.
Let me ask you a question here. You said it grows anyway, and by the time you get about 50, it's about the size of a walnut.
Correct.
That is not an enlarged prostate?
No.
Okay.
No, that's the average size.
All right.
An enlarged prostate can take on proportions the size of an orange.
My God.
Yeah, and you got a problem at that time. And because the urethra travels through the prostate, which sits between the bladder and the rectum, as the prostate grows and it begins to enlarge, it starts to squeeze on the urethra, and then that's when men start having complications with, urinating, and you may start having problems with erections and other problems. And what they do is they take a PSA test. Well, the traditional method of exam used to be the digital rectal exam, the dreaded finger. Unfortunately, that's one reason why so many men have not gone, and they almost refuse to go, because there's something about the manhood that brothers tend to feel is being affected by the doctor inserting his finger into the rectum. Throughout the years, they've developed different tests, and now the PSA test is one of the current tests that works. for understanding the prostate fluids. The reason for the finger is to examine the prostate for any irregularities. The problem with that is if it's early stage prostate cancer, and again, I'm not a doctor for sure, but if it's early stage prostate cancer, they won't be able to feel it. When I had my exam, I had the DRE, and the doctor sent me home with a clean bill of health. But I also had the PSA test that same day, and 5 days later, I got a phone call to tell me that my PSA levels are high.
So is that requesting a PSA test? Is that like asking someone, you go to the doctor, asking your doctor to give you a diabetes test, even though you don't believe you have diabetes?
Well, certainly. I mean, it's called prevention. You know, it's like early diagnosis is the key to the cure. You know, we check our oil levels. We don't know if they're if they're down or not. As a matter of fact, we take so much better care of our cars than we do ourselves. You know, we rotate the tires, we get the tune-up, we get the range. We're gonna make sure. You know, I'll cancel my doctor's appointment because I got an appointment with Jiffy Lube. You know? But yeah, white men should go to have a prostate exam on an annual basis beginning at 50. Black men, because we're the highest risk for prostate cancer of any men in the entire world, we need to start going at the age of 40. There's a lot of controversy that's been going on about the prostate exam, that it doesn't save lives, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I won't get into, but you can kind of go online and read up on that. I tell everybody that if you don't know what you have, how can you treat it?
Well, you know, when we were talking about you coming on the show, I was doing some research also, and I looked at the statistics, and it did say that the African-American man had 50 per 100,000, 50 cases, and the Caucasian had 21 per 100,000. They said the Asian had 10, the Hispanic 19, and the East Indian 17%. With those numbers, I looked at that, and I also started looking at what causes it. And every site I went to says, well, we don't know for sure what causes it. You know? So, I mean, does it say that it's not going to get you until you get to be over 50? Or, you know, can you start at 17? Are there cases of young men with prostate cancer?
Of course. You know, 1 in 6 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer if they live long enough. Those are the statistics. The good news is that only 1 out of 35 of those men would have to die from it because of all the new, we have so much new technology and so many new therapies. When I got diagnosed in 2008, there was a brother in the hospital, 29 years old, prostate cancer. Yeah. There was a study that was done during the period of, within the past few years that stated that over 90% of prostate cancer has been directly linked to our diet. So, it's important to make sure that we understand that it's not just, something that just happens to somebody. We're making more money and we're supposedly living better now than we did back during the old days, but why is it that we're dying, from more diseases than before? The greatest obesity rate. But it's because of the food. We used to spend like 17% of our income on food and 5% on healthcare about 50 years ago. Now that's reversed. We're spending 5% of our money on food and the other 17% on healthcare. So, we're doing better according to some, but then you have to really take a look at that and figure out what, relative to what.
What do these symptoms, well, I know you said that your prostate wasn't even enlarged.
Oh, thank God.
So did you have any symptoms at all?
No, I've, as you know, you've been knowing me for a minute or two. I've always been involved in, martial arts, homeopathy, different health therapies, and, veganism, vegetarianism, I should say. And I've always been conscious of health. And so when I moved to Rhode Island, as I said, I just went for a routine exam. And as a result of the routine exam, that's how they found it. And there were no symptoms. I wasn't, having staggered urination and problems with erections and all that stuff. It's just one of those things that we go check up on me. It's something that we rarely get a chance to do because we got to go make the money. We got to, take the kids to the concert. We have so many things that we have to do that is so much more important than making sure that we're straight. But moving to Rhode Island, I got a chance to do that. And after that, it dawned on me. I said, man, it becomes the priority. Of everything else that you may have to do, you actually come to the point where you realize that this is the most important thing that I have to do today. And you tell people that, you know what, it's all about me for the moment.
It's time for the 99, the 99%. It's time for the 99.